Alright, so let's start.
This event is affiliated by Roots of Being. Roots of Being is founded on the concept that by embracing our true selves, we unlock infinite potential and spark positive change in our surroundings. With this principle at its core, Roots of Being addresses both personal and societal issues, ranging from local challenges to global issues. At present, there is a growing awareness of the importance of essential elements of our humanity, such as empathy, communication, ethics, creativity, and well-being. However, many may not fully appreciate the significance of these aspects in our lives. Despite the numerous system overhauls, a fundamental flaw persists within our social structure, which actually exacerbates our ego, leading to the erosion of our humanity and disconnect from nature. Our world isn't as clear-cut as what's portrayed on screens. It's unknown, mysterious, and vague. Within this mystery, we seek the truth and navigate life to fulfill our own missions. Great art often emerges from this journey. It's a universal experience we all share. Instead of seeking refuge in others or shying away from reality, we can learn to float on the surface of the water in solitude, embracing our authentic selves. This necessitates an urgent shift from old paradigms to new ones, especially as the pace of life accelerates exponentially. The simplest yet most potent method for change lies in embracing our authenticity. By doing so, we emit a ripple effect, influences others and fostering a profound transformation in our communities and the world. This concept embodies an inner evolution, profoundly impactful on both individual and global scales. It doesn't depend on external tools or systems, but rather on our innate authenticity. But how do we achieve this transformation? Enter Roots of Being community. In this supportive community for personal development, both online and offline, individuals from diverse backgrounds including philosophers, psychologists, activists, artists, educators, therapists, entrepreneurs, scientists, writers, and more come together in a safe and welcoming space. Here, members can feel at ease and settle their minds without criticism or judgment, allowing everyone to be themselves. This environment fosters growth and supports each other's journey towards self-discovery and transformation. We address personal life issues, host various workshops for creativity and well-being, and engage in discussions about social issues, wealth, career, and environmental and psychological studies, and philosophical topics, among other areas of interest. This community is suitable for those who lack confidence, feel stuck in their pursuits, wish to support others, seek like-minded individuals, or aim to initiate projects addressing social and global issues. We explore ways to uplift and empower each other through various workshops, discussions, and personal interactions. Membership starting at just £7 grants access to wealth of resources, including past videos, workshops, discussions, and thought-provoking references, all conveniently organized on Notion. Additionally, our Discord channel facilitates communication, ranging from casual conversations to deep philosophical and psychological discussions. Furthermore, our director offers personalized life coaching sessions to members seeking individualized guidance. Join us on this journey of self-discovery and transformation, where together we can create profound change in ourselves and the world around us.
So this is part of affiliated to Roots of Being Salon, our community, I would say, Roots of Being Salon の主催。サロンって書いてますけど、コミュニティですね。Alright, okay, let's chat. Yeah, you could unmute Marcello.
Okay, here we go.
Hi, Marcello. So this is Marcello. I know him quite a while ago. You were kind of flat hunting, I think. Flat hunting.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we got to know each other. We have kind of similar idea, and we just very get on well. And he's also part of the Roots of Being member. ルーツオビングのメンバーでもあり、前は多分、家を探してた のかな。で、ロンドンで知り合って、意気投合して、今も仲良くやっています。Okay, Shihei-san, could you help me from now?
Yeah.
Okay, so Marcello works in Ethiopia now and working in an NGO. Sorry, I didn't change to Oxfam, but yeah, he used to work in Oxfam and now the different NGO and the discussion would be on YouTube.
昔はオックスファムの NGO 団体で活動していて、今はエチオピアの NGO 団体で活動しています。
Okay, Marcello, you could maybe introduce a little bit more if I.
Yes, no problem. So, my name is Marcello. I studied philosophy, and I'm interested in analyzing the root causes of what surrounds us. And then I started to work as a consultant for strategy, foresight, and I changed my career then working as a humanitarian activist. I work for Oxfam and for Action Against Hunger, and currently I'm in Ethiopia, as Satoshi was saying, and I'm head of mission for CHESV, responding to humanitarian emergency.
最初哲学から始まりまして、自我がどうやってできているかを研究することに分析していました。それからコンサルタント、ストラテジー&リサーチとして働き始めて、それからオックスファムで働き始めました。で、今はエチオピアの NGO で働いています。
And with Satoshi, we decided to use these experience of mine in connection with roots of being, and so we decided to talk about catastrophes, but not the catastrophes that happen to others, the catastrophe that will happen to us.
ルーツ・オブ・ビーイングでサトシと企画を練りまして、他者に起こる災害ではなくて、自分に返ってくる災害について今回は話そうと思います。
And so we will use the example of these huge emergencies that there are mostly in Africa. I mean, this is my experience, as lenses to understand the catastrophes that will happen to us.
自分の経験から大災害について、これからこの大きな2つのトピックを通じて皆さんと共有していければと思います。
And so we wanted to play with the idea of where do you locate yourself in a catastrophe? Will you be a survivor or a victim? And will you cause the catastrophe or you will help to fix it?
カタストロフィー、災害というキーワードで、あなたは自分を災害というキーワードの中でどのように位置づけますか？サバイバー、生存者か、それとも犠牲者、ビクティムなのか、それとも災害を起こす側なのか、それとも災害で苦しむ人を救う側なのか、どういうふうに自分を位置づけますか？
And now, to be more specific, our species, humanity, will face big challenges. The climate is broken. Inequality is rising. And with inequality, we are talking about billions of people that are food insecure, that don't have enough to eat. And so the question for us is, how do we fix climate and how do we fix injustice?
もっと細かく言うと、ヒューマニティ、人道について今回はお話ししようと思います。今、気候がクライメートチェンジで上がっていますし、イネクオリティ、人々の間の格差が広がり続けています。これは飢餓につながることもありますし、そういった社会問題をどのように、そういった不条理をどのように変えていけるかについてフォーカスを当ててお話ししようと思います。
Okay, shall we start the topic? Yeah. So
Sure.
yeah, I think we'll talk a lot in from these topics. So we start from why are we not ready for future catastrophes, which start from Africa. The second one is why does inequality or oppression occur between Africa and the West. アフリカから始まるトピック、将来の第三次になぜ備えができていないのか、アフリカと西欧間の不平等や抑圧はなぜ生まれるのか。で、この2つのトピックで、話していきたいと思います。So these two topics we're going to talk. So the first one, why are we not ready for future catastrophes which start from Africa? アフリカから始まる将来の第三次になぜ備えができていないのか。So this means that we, as in, I think people who have an internet now can watch this. People who don't have would be a developing country. So we, as in advanced country, people who live in the city. Yeah, 周平さん。
まず、これで、インターネットを持っている人は、どういった災害がアフリカから起こっているのかについて備えることもできますし、そもそもインターネットを持ってない人はその情報にさえアクセスができません。まずはこの問題からそこの格差からどういう備えができるのか、できていないのかについて掘り下げようと思います。
All right. Let me just give you a bit of context of why we are not ready. Energy consumption. The whole sub-Saharan Africa, excluding South Africa, consumes less than Spain. So we are talking about a billion people that consumes less than, I believe it's 40 million, the population of Spain.
Hold on, let's do it quite, slowly, yeah.
エネルギーの消費について、アフリカの10万人以上の人が、スペインの4億人、4万人の人よりもエネルギーを消費できていないという格差の問題があります。で、そういうふうな、どういう格差がある
Hold
の
on,
かについて。
billion, so it's not 10万。
10億。
So アフリカの10億、
の人は、西洋のスペインの4億の人よりもエネルギーを消費できていないという格差問題があります。
Hold on, Spain is not 4億、I guess 4000万。How many in Spain, Marcello?
Around 40 million.
Yeah, so 4000万。
Yeah,
thank you.
And this is just to give you a perspective.
Hold on, we haven't translated everything. So,
Okay.
so 40 billion、40億円の40億人の人が使うエネルギーと、スペインの4000万人のエネルギーがほぼ一緒であると。それほどその、シティで、生活している人、アドバンスカントリー、いわゆる、発展途上国でなく、なんだ、アドバンスカントリーは先進国はそれほどエネルギーを使っているということですね。Okay, Marcello, continue, please.
Okay. By 2050, so in 26 years, not a lot, the population in sub-Saharan Africa will almost double. There will be another billion of people. And so why we are not ready? Well, because we cannot increase drastically our energy because we need to reduce it actually to save the climate. And the question is what these additional billion of people will do when we will tell we cannot afford more electricity, more consumption, because we took it too much before you were born. So
実際にそのデータプラスに1000万人の人がエネルギーが行き渡ってないっていうアディショナルな追加の災害がありますと。なので、私たちはエネルギーをとにかく使用量を抑える、減らさなければいけません。で、そういうことを他の人に言うときに、どういうふうにして伝えますかと。で、残りのエネルギーっていうのは、エネルギーをもう生み出して、残りのこのエネルギーをその10万人の人に、新たに生み出したエネルギーを与えるというのはできませんと。限られたリソースをどう配分するかっていうところに焦点を当てて説明していきます。
26年後ね。26年後に、そうなってしまうということですね。Marcello, yeah, continue, thank you.
Okay. Now, let's go fast forward to Ethiopia, where I have a direct experience, and I'm working with a pastoralist, shepherd, They have goats, they have camels, and they are living in semi-arid places, almost desert, and they know very well how to live with very few resources. They know how to live without rain for several years. But with climate change, it's not just a couple of years without rain. In Ethiopia, in particular, it was more than 6 years without rain. So these people are very capable. They know how to adapt, but the conditions are becoming too extreme for them. I'm saying this because in Italy, in Europe, when you don't have rain for 1 year is a catastrophe. Imagine living 6 years without rain.
エチオピアのケースを見ていくと、エチオピアのこの遊牧民族たちは、ほとんど砂漠の環境で生活をしているため、雨が数ヶ月降らないという環境に慣れています。ただ、最近の、傾向によると、6年間も降水量、雨が一度も降らないという状況に陥っています。で、彼らはさすがに雨が砂漠の環境で過ごしている彼らも、このような究極的な状況下では、適用することができません。で、サイドノートで、イタリアで1年間雨が降らなかっただけで大災害と認定されるので、エチオピアで6年間雨が降らないということは、ものすごい、過酷な状況にあると言えます。
And of course, these communities are the least responsible for climate change. They live with an incredibly low carbon footprint. So the question for us, on which side of a catastrophe are we, is in now, but in the near future, it will just be more extreme. What do we do with resources, with climate, with poverty, with inequality? And we need to think fast if we will fix the problem or we will deteriorate, if we will make it worse. Can we consume as we do now? What about the others? What about those that don't have our consumption, but they have access to the images, to the information? They have internet. They see on YouTube, on the web, what is the lifestyle in America, in Europe, in Japan, and they are starting to think why we don't have it.
エチオピアはスペインや先進国に比べて一番責任がない状態にあると言えます。なぜなら出している二酸化炭素量、カーボンフットプリントも先進国、西欧のそれに比べてものすごい少ないですし、で、ここに来て私たちは状況を早く考える必要があります。どうやってこの環境を変えるのかと。そうしないとどんどん環境が悪くなっていってしまいます。エチオピアの人たちは YouTube や、情報、そして西洋の人たち、日本の人たちがどのようにして、先進国の人たちがどのようなライフスタイルを持っているか、それにアクセスできるインターネットの情報があるので、彼らは気づき始めています。この6年間雨が降らない原因っていうのは自分たちにあるわけではなくて、西洋の人たちのライフスタイルにあるんではないかと。
Marcello, so inequality, so what do you mean by inequality? Because of the poverty and then the rich country, is that what you mean? 不平等さと言ってたんで、その不平等さというのは、日本やヨーロッパ、アメリカみたいに、先進国のお金持ちと、アフリカのそのお金がないっていう、そういう状態、貧困のその違いなんですかと聞いてみました。Yeah, go on.
And this is connected with the other topic that we wanted to discuss in this conversation.
Okay.
We are talking about future catastrophes, but these future catastrophes are caused by the past, and the inequality is caused by the past, by primarily the colonial experience of European countries, but also by the capitalism and industrialization of Europe, America, and also Japan. And these past is causing the future catastrophes of climate and
ここで語った将来的に起こる大災害、そして イネクオリティ、不平等性は様々な要因と結びついています。それは西洋の植民地の経験であったり、資本主義、日本を含める資本主義国家の台頭であったり、でそのような要素がどのように現在での不平等性を生んでいるのかについて、これから話そうと思います。
And so, what is important to highlight is that inequality is not about merit. It's not that communities in Ethiopia, in Nigeria, in Senegal are not capable. They were the victims of violence, of brutality. European countries, America, and also Japan, they were more advanced, but they use that technological advancement in the most violent way. So the inequality is not about people that are not capable. It's about the violence of the countries that now are benefiting from that inequality and are causing also the climate catastrophe. It's a system, it's a model, economic and social, that is causing this catastrophe.
アフリカやエチオピアが大災害において貧困にあえいでいる状況っていうのは、それらの国々がそれらの貧困を自力で回復できない弱い国という事実であるからではなく、日本を含む先進国が、資本主義によって生み出されたテクノロジーを一番残酷なやり方で、一番暴力的なやり方で使用した結果であり、アフリカやエチオピアの国々は、その先進国が、資本主義とか、あとは経済的に優位に立った、そのメリットをデメリットで暴力的に返されている犠牲者の国々であると。で、アフリカとか、現段階でのアフリカの国々の状況は、日本や西洋の諸国が経済的なアドバンスメントと、あとシステム的な組織的に成長を遂げた裏腹で、このような暴力の犠牲者となっています。
Well, we can talk about this maybe the topic after. So maybe we just focus on. So I didn't realize about the inequality. So let's talk about the why we're not ready for the future more now. ちょっと今トピックがずれちゃったんで、ちょっと最初のなぜ第3次に備えができてないかっていう話。You also talk about the 25 years later, Japan, it's gonna be same temperature as equator. You talk about that. そう、赤外線と同じぐらいの温度になると。25年後に日本の気温が上がって、25年ってすぐですよね。赤外線と同じぐらいの、暑さになると、それに対してどうやって対処したりができて、準備できてないってことですね。Is it really true that happening?
Oh, it's happening now. Italy and Spain are becoming desert. The south regions of Italy, extended regions in Spain are becoming desert. So when I'm talking about inequality, there is a moral aspect that we are fighting. But when we are talking about future catastrophes, we are talking also from our own perspective, if you want to call it selfish, that we are destroying our planet, and this destruction is reaching our communities.
それはもう起こり始めていて、イタリア、特に南イタリアとスペインは砂漠化が進んでいます。で、これはモラル的な問題でもあり、私たちが環境を無視してエネルギーを使った結果でもあるので、私たちが自分自身で地球を壊していて、その被害を今被っているという形になります。
And so, again, linking this with the experience in Ethiopia, with communities that are very capable and they consume almost nothing. They live without electricity, they live without rain for 6 years. So let's compare this with our own life. When we are talking about the need to reduce consumption, we are not talking about remembering to switch off the lights or trying to consume a bit less. We are talking if we want to be ready for catastrophe, to cut our consumption of more than half or even more. And so this is why we are not ready to that change. We cannot consume at this level in the future. And can we live without electricity, without Netflix, without Zara clothing, etc.? Can we live without this? Well, I'm not, but I think that this is common for everyone, that we have this is why we are not ready for the future.
今、エチオピアは雨がなく、エネルギーもなしの状態、電気もなしの状態で暮らしています。で、先進国の皆さんにエネルギーの消費を抑えましょうって言ったときに、皆さんは電気を少し消したりとか、あとはエネルギーを例えばちょくちょく水道を止めるとか、そういったことに意識を向けようっていう話にすら、ならないという状況がありますと。もうすぐ大災害が来たときに備えとして、例えば電気なしの生活ができますか、ザラの洋服なしの生活ができますかと。で、ネットフリックスなしの生活が送れますか。で、マルチェロさんはできないって言ってるんですけれども、皆さんはどうですか？
Oh, that's so interesting. And yeah, I'm trying to save energy. I mean, I don't know how bad it is, but I feel like even I live in an advanced country, and I was born in Japan, so just luckily we are rich compared to those countries. But yeah, I try to save energy if it's not necessary. I was lucky because I somehow grew up in a place that in the room that the air conditioning was broken even when I was in Japan. So I didn't have any heater. I didn't have any air conditioning in the summer in Japan. And so I kind of trained, and I consider about the environment too. So I try to save energy, and even if I feel cold, I don't switch a heater at all actually. But I'm just wondering that if there's any statics, like some sort of a calculation, like if you switch on the electricity in advanced country, or like if you use the iPhone for 24 hours, and what causes to Africa, what kind of, I mean, it would be interesting if there's such a kind of formula or reports and with application, or because we don't, maybe people don't want to know about it. ちょっと自分で訳しますけど、できるだけエネルギーをね、消費しないように毎日、環境のことを考えているので、マルショが今言ったように、それほどひどいとは思わなかったんですけど、意味もなく、必要以上に、エネルギーを使いたいとは思わないので、できるだけ、例えば夏、僕は子供の時、たまたまエアコンディショニングが、エアコンが壊れてたんで、夏もエアコンなし、冬もヒーターなしっていう状態をずっと続けてて、特にそれに文句も言わず生活してたので、鍛えられたんですけど、なんか先進国の中で、iPhone、例えば24時間つけっぱなしとか、スイッチをつけっぱなしとか、そういったことで、どういった影響が、発展途上国にあるかという、そういうなんか計算方式なり何かそういうものがあるのかなと思いました。what is there anything like that, like some sort of study, like clearly, like if you do this thing and then you see that in Africa, or
I mean, I'm happy to share some documents, but just to give you an idea, Japan is consuming 4 times what Sub-Saharan Africa is consuming, and is 10 times smaller the population. So, which means that Japan is consuming 40 times more than all the citizens of Sub-Saharan Africa, 40 times. So when we what I'm suggesting is that we need to change radically our lifestyle, because 40 times it's not just switching on and off the air conditioning, is changing radically our perspective in life, our economic model. I don't have a solution, but Satoshi, this is what we discuss in Roots of Being, that we need to change radically. we cannot just change here and there, one step at a time. And if we don't change, the rest of the world will change for us. 2 billion people in Sub-Saharan Africa will start to question why the situation is like this. And our answer cannot be, sorry, you came late or you were unlucky. This is not an answer.
一つ具体的な数字を出すと、日本はアフリカの4倍の電気を使っています。
40倍
で、
?40
人口
times,
は、
right, Marcello? In Japan.
40
Hey.
times, yes.
で、人口は、ア
40
フリカの10分の1ですので、1人当たりに直すと、1人当たり40倍の電気を使用しているという結論になります。ですので、これはただ日本の、皆さんが電気を消したりとかするだけでは解決しません。で、今からこのルーツオブビーイングでやっている大災害に備えるために、今から答えを準備しとかなきゃいけないわけで、それをしておかないと、実際に26年後の大災害になった時に、アフリカ諸国の皆さんは、災害への対応が遅すぎますとしか言えなくなってしまって、でもそれは答えではないですよね。だから皆さんで今考えることが必要なのです。
まあ、ドラマティックな変え方をしない限り大きく変わらないということと、あと、何十億人と住んでいる南部の人たちですね、に対して先進国の人が、あなたたちはただ運が悪かったんだというふうには言えないですよね。Okay, then another thing is, I just start thinking like, okay, this energy making business like nuclear power or fire plants, do you say that power? Yeah, any kind of power station, power plants. All these scientists actually didn't predict these things. I think it's part of the scientists' fault, or we don't predict about we are maybe kind of pushing so hard to make us luxurious or comfortable so quickly. So, I mean, we believe that, oh, how comfortable we are. Like we have house, energy, lights and the internet and everything. We could sit down and then watching TV, the Netflix and stuff. That was like, all this kind of idea just really feel long. And then why do we have to push all the other people live like the Busherman? I mean, nothing wrong with that. I don't mind to live like this, but I think we have a idea of this comfortableness, and which might be wrong. I just want to answer that, like, is it like scientists' fault or we didn't think about it? I mean, it's a quite philosophical question, but ちょっと思ったのが、エネルギーを作ること自体、火力発電所なり原子力とか、僕たちはあまりにも早く進めすぎたんじゃないかなということと、西洋的な思想でいかに自然から離れたというか、快適な生活をできるかっていうことを、すごい急速に変えてしまったことに問題があるんじゃないかなということと、科学者がそれについて何も考えなかったんじゃないかなと。What do you think about this?
Well, the scientists, they have no doubt. I mean, they are saying very clearly where we are going. The problem is the politicians, especially in the US. But if you think that in the recent talks about climate, the Emirates were saying that we should still use oil. And of course, I mean, they are exporters of oil, but they are still trying to slow down the big change. So 30 years ago, I think the Paris Accord on Climate said that if temperatures will rise to more than 1.5 degree, it will put the existence of our species at risk. And we are still discussing, and we are still saying that we should cut and maybe we shouldn't, and what we do. And the temperature is rising, and is rising beyond the level that will allow our species to survive. Again, I'm not talking about Japan, I'm not talking about Ethiopia, I'm talking about humanity. we are simply on the path to self-destruction. And we're still discussing changing here and there. Saudi Arabia and the United Emirates, they are still putting doubts in the conversation. But there is no doubt in the science of where we are going. And we are going to self-destruction. I mean, this is, there are no doubts from the science perspective.
科学者はこの大災害の予想を的確に予測していて、問題なのは政治家にあると思いますと。特にアメリカの政治家、そしてあとは企業側で言うとエミレーツだったりとかが、まだ私たちはこのオイルを使う必要があると言っているので、サウジアラビアや US の国々が本当にこの気候変動が起こっているのかなとダウトを掲げているっていうところが問題だと思います。で、30年前にパリの気候会議で 1.5 度、地球全体の環境が上がると生命が危機に瀕するとの報告があったのですが、もう30年前のパリのこのデータよりも上回った気候変動を私たちは迎えていて、これは日本とかイギリスとか西洋諸国とかそういった国ではなく、私たち人間が自己破壊に向かっているという、その危機的状況を私は今話しています。
Shall we move on to the next question? Do you want to say something about this more?
No, I mean, as you can see, the topics are connected, and
Yeah.
maybe we can move and I can give a brief context on this as well.
Okay. Okay, so why does inequality or oppression occur between African and the West? アフリカ西欧間の不平等や抑圧はなぜ生まれるのか。
So, first of all, you need to use ideology. You need to say that others, black people, African people, but of course, this was extended to all the non-white populations, are inferior, because otherwise you cannot exploit people that are equal to you. So the first step was ideological, was to consider all the non-white people inferior.
この不平等や抑圧が生まれるステップとして、まず一つ目にイデオロギーを使うという、ステップがありますと。で、それは例えばノンホワイトピーポー、非白人の人種が白人よりも劣っていると決めつけることで、非白人からたくさん搾取をすることが、可能になるというイデオロギーをまず敷いたことが問題だと思います。
I watched the maybe we talk about it, Poverty Inc. and it was interesting documentary and Poverty Inc. というドキュメンタリーを見たことがあるんですけど、I was actually felt the same from the documentary. So the documentary was saying that the African people themselves, also the West people, are trying to kind of mind control that us as well, that African people poor, and just we have immediately think about that. アフリカ人はアフリカの全体が、とても貧乏だというようなイメージを叩き込められていて、僕らもそういうふうに考えていると思うんですね。And when I see the adverts on the train anywhere in the world, like, save Africa, donate Africa, and just say Africa continent. アフリカの全土のアフリカ大陸、アフリカを救おうみたいな、あと募金しましょうみたいな、どこでもあると思うんですけど、that image, like, I was like, why do I have to do this? Like, what's this? What's going on? And why Africa is always poor? How come? And if you see the Poverty Inc., you understand that the African people also say that they actually, another thing is they send so many donation, and that makes them weak ideologically, and also they don't have a capacity to develop themselves because they are like kind of become children and then parents are West countries. 西側諸国がドネイトすることによって、ポーティーインクを見るとわかると思うんですけど、すごく、さらに貧困化させて、自らで企業を作ったりとか事業を作ったりということをさせずに、ドネイトに頼ってしまって、堕落してしまうという、感覚があると。
Maybe it's important to start with one fact that there is more money coming out to Africa towards Europe, America, Japan, than money coming in. So that right now, right today, Africa, and let's also think that Africa is huge, very diverse, and we are just, putting everything together. But in any case, there is more money coming out. So essentially, Africa is subsidizing the rest of the world. So Africa is giving more money to the rest of the world than the money it receives. And I can say it in another way, that the rest of the world is stealing from Africa more than is giving to Africa. Today, so when we are talking about the colonial past is present. The countries, the Francophone countries that are part of the heritage of the French colonial empire are still dominated financially by Paris. Their central banks are required, are obliged to keep their gold in Paris.
世界諸国のお金の流れを見ると分かるのですが、世界諸国がアフリカに寄付をする額以上にアフリカから世界諸国にお金を出している大陸ではありますと。で、アフリカ大陸一つとってもいろんな人がいて、アフリカ大陸はとても大きいですし、多様性がそこにはあるのですが、今回アフリカ大陸という言葉を使うと、アフリカは世界の搾取の対象になっているという事実がお金の流れを見ればわかります。で、それはフランスとか、西洋諸国のコロニアルパスト、植民地主義の影響であって、その植民地主義っていうのは過去に終わったものではなく、今現在も続いています。
The other aspect, again, ideological in the capitalist paradigm, in the capitalist model, is, for example, that it dictates that you need to open your industries. No country that was successful, I'm talking about England, America, Japan, South Korea, they developed by being open. For example, all these countries, they become industrialized by nurturing national champions. So no country that became strong and rich adopted the recipes of the capitalist model, but it is imposed on the African countries. So why they are still poor? Because it's a trick. Because you tell to open while you are not giving them the opportunity to develop. So, for example, very few industries, very few sectors can compete with the rest of the world. Again, if you think about Japan, South Korea, America, England, they developed by keeping close the competition to the outside until they were able and they were to compete and they were strong.
もう一つの側面としては、資本主義社会のトリックがあります。で、イギリス、イングランド、アメリカ、韓国、日本を見てみると、国をオープンにして戦える、業界、インダストリー、業界を持った状態で、先進国同士でその土俵で戦わせる。その土俵で白熱ヒートアップした業界、インダストリー同士の戦いをすることで、恵まれている人たちは恵まれている環境下で戦えるから、どんどん、先進国になっていくけれども、アフリカは経済的な流れを見てもお金がたまらない大陸だし、そんな状態で一つや二つ全体をリードできる業界が生まれる状態のない中で、鎖国から開国させられ、その植民地で西洋諸国に対してオープンにさせられた状態で、西洋諸国と同じ土俵で戦わされているという現状があるので、アフリカはどう頑張っても西洋諸国や先進国と肩を並べられないという資本主義下においての不利なルールな状態で戦わされているという事実があります。
When I think about Japan, so 200 years ago, 300 years ago, we closed country. I don't know how much you know about the Japanese history, but we had a 200 years of closing country called Edo era. And then America forced us to open the trading, and then we are nearly colonized by Western country, but we prevent that. And I don't know that is a lack or geometrically, or we have resources. I don't know. I mean, I personally think, why not just keep this Edo era for 400, 600,000 years? What's the problem to not to be in a kind of capitalist idea? Maybe we are privileged, but why not? You know, some African countries or some area, it's still like this. And I don't really see the point of need to be kind of be the same as other countries. But that's one thing. But日本のこと考えると、江戸時代のままでも別にいいんじゃないかと思うのと、まあ、あと、アメリカや西欧が、日本をこう、コロナイズしようとしてたと思うんですけど、まあ、それは失敗に終わったと。で、なんでそれは日本ではそうなって、まあ、アフリカではこういう状態になってるのか、それは、まあ、資源があるからなのか、まあ、ただ単に運が良かった、悪かったからなのか。So I wanted to ask a question about, is it kind of a strategy, or is it just happen to be like this, or just a luck that Japan became like this, or East Asia became like this, Africa is a little bit this because we don't have resources, we have resources, or geometrically, or it just happened by luck? まあ、運によってこ
Well,
うなったのか、資源があるかないかとか、日本はなぜ、こういう状態になってて、アフリカは今こうなってるのか。Yeah?
okay. I mean, Japan has very little resources, almost none. And it's a very capable people. I would say, and I'm not saying because you are my friend, but I think that probably the Japanese people are the most capable in the world. And you're right, when the Americans forced Japan to open with violence, well, Japan reacted with the Meiji period after the Edo, so went straight from feudalism, from Middle Age to an industrialized country in 30, 40 years. So it was astonishing, the level of development of Japan.
日本は世界でも器用な人が集まっている国だと思います。日本は資源がそもそもない国ですし、そんな中でアメリカにこう暴力的に開国をさせられ、2、30年で欧米列国に肩を並べたのは驚くべき事実でした。
And again, I'm not an expert in Japanese history or culture, but Japan has a strong identity. There were many. It was a populous country, and so when and it has a long history, so it could adapt to the new era and to the new condition. And again, it was very difficult to invade Japan, actually. So if you combine all of these, we can start to see why it wasn't just luck. It was Japanese people have a strong identity. There were many. They were very capable. It was difficult to occupy Japan. And lastly, there was no need to occupy Japan because there was nothing to take from Japan. The situation in Africa is different because during colonization, there were very few people. Senegal or Kenya were 50 times smaller in population. And so France, England, they were much bigger than all these countries. The people were all different. There was an extreme variety. Thousands and thousands of different communities. So when we're talking about Kenya, there are 40 different communities. In Japan, there is one. Probably the Aino, but I don't want to talk about that. But let's say 99% of the Japanese people are Japanese. In Kenya, you have 40 different ethnicities and communities. In Ethiopia, you have 80.
まず日本を植民地化しなかった理由に、日本人が、99% の人口が日本人であったっていう国民的なアイデンティティ、ナショナルアイデンティティを持っていたから、とても鎖国をするのに、植民地化するのに難しい状況にあったっていうのと、日本は何も こう盗むリソース、資源がない国であったため、そもそも、労力かけて植民地化する必要のない土地だったっていうことがあって、日本の植民地化はされてないと思いますと。で、当時のそれに比べてアフリカは、例えばケニアを取ったら40の違うコミュニティが、そのケニアっていうちっちゃな国の中に存在していますし、エチオピアだったら80の違う民族、違うコミュニティがいるので、エチオピア人としてのナショナルアイデンティティがある以前に、みんながそのコミュニティの帰属意識が強いので、バラバラで統制が取れないっていう現状もあります。
And allow me also to give some examples. We say to ourselves that we have good intentions, but we don't. Let me give the example of Sankara. He was a soldier in Burkina Faso, and he came to power, and he was a feminist, an ecologist, and this was in the 1980s, almost 40 years ago. Imagine 40 years ago, a head of state that is feminist, ecologist, that is talking about the education of his people. And he was assassinated. And this happened to many leaders in Africa. So when we are saying why they are still not developed as other countries, well, because they are actively being sabotaged by the West.
アフリカにそういう人材がいないかといったらそうではなく、アフリカも可能性のある人材に溢れています。だけれども、サンカラの例を取ると、サンカラには40年前、フェミニストであり、エコロジストであったリーダーがいました。とても才能に恵まれていたリーダーなんですが、その人は、西洋諸国の力によって暗殺されましたと。で、アフリカはたびたびこのような偉大なリーダーが生まれるのですが、西洋によって必ずもみ消されます。
Mandela, now the statue of Mandela is in front of Westminster, but Mandela was jailed with the support for this decision of US and UK. So I would say it's, these are all examples of African champions that are assassinated or jailed for the interest of the West. And so if you put together too many resources, because in Africa is very rich in resources, low population, huge diversity, and the constant sabotage of their development. Because with words, we say that we want them to develop, but with actions and in practice, we do the contrary. So you start to see a trajectory here. You start to see a pattern where we are still underdeveloping African countries.
アフリカはたくさんのリソースに恵まれていて、人口が少なくて、ただそこにはたくさんのコミュニティ、ダイバーシティ、ケニアで40以上のコミュニティ、エチオピアで80以上のコミュニティがあって、で、その中からたくさん有能なリーダー、タレントが出てきますが、それが西洋によって継続的に暗殺されているという状況がありますと。で、ここで私たちは一つのパターンに気づくわけです。アフリカは西洋によって意図的に発展途上国にされ続けているというパターンが。
And so allow me now to wrap up, especially because I talk too much and I'd like to open the floor for questions. But I want to connect the two topics. One is that with climate, we are destroying our planet, and we need to have solutions, mostly by reducing our consumption. On the other side, there is 1.5 billion now, and probably 2.5 billion very soon, of people that would like to consume, not like in the West or like in Japan, but a bit more. And this is the problem. A bit more, it's still too much. And what we do, I don't have a solution, and I'm opening the floor for the reflection of everyone. I'm a bit pessimistic, just because with the wars that they are being waged now in Ukraine or in Gaza, we are taking the worst possible path. Ukraine wasn't a necessity. It's a strategic decision of the West to fight for that. We can discuss about that war. I think that Putin is a criminal, but there are many criminals around. And Germany, just to finance the situation in Ukraine, started again to use coal-powered stations. So doing exactly the opposite of saving the climate. So what do? I mean, we decided that waging wars is our answer. And in 25 years, people in Sub-Saharan Africa, people in Nigeria, people in Mali, people in Somalia, they will say, okay, this was your way to find solutions, and we will adopt your way, waging wars.
結局このことから言えるのは、私たちには解決策、ソリューションが今すぐ必要で、そうしないと1ビリオン、2ビリオン、そして1.5ビリオン、2.5ビリオンの人たちが自己破滅に向かっていきます。で、私個人的な見解としては消極的、あまりポジティブ楽観的には慣れていません。なぜなら、ガザもそうですし、ロシア、プーチンのウクライナ侵攻、そして、ウクライナを助けたジャーマニー、ドイツが、まだ、コールドパワーを使っているっていうことで、アフリカからパワーを、供給して、ウクライナの支援をするっていう。で、戦争をやめさせるような代わりに、戦争をもっとヒートアップさせるような道を、国全体として取っているということが見て取れるので、私は、人々の答えは戦争に行き着いてしまったんだなと思っています。それが私を、消極的、未来に対して、消極的にさせた原因です。で、それが続いてしまうと、20年後、25年後、ソマリアやマリア、アフリカの国々によって、アフリカの国が実際に危機に瀕した際に、結局先進国の答えは何ですかと。戦争だったんですね。わかりました。私たちもじゃあ戦争に加担しますと言って、先進国のソリューションにどんどん吸い込まれてしまうような、未来の構図が出来上がることが先に見えてしまっていて、それが私を、どうしても未来に対して楽観的にすることができない原因になっています。
And so, as a conclusion from my side, I'm very pessimistic about the future. I think that we need a revolution, and we need a spiritual revolution to change things. And this is why you know very well, Satoshi, that this is why I'm looking at the quiet, peaceful revolution of activities like Roots of Being as a necessity. It's only like with these internal change of mindset and soul that there is maybe a possibility to save the world. Otherwise, we are destroying the world, and we are destroying our own people, our own brothers and sisters, our own planet. And we need to change. We need to change fast, and we need to change radically. So, with a spiritual revolution, probably.
Yeah, I like that.
And now, yeah, I suspected it.
結局私は世界に対して、どうしても楽観的な、視点を抱くことができなくって、で、その世界を変えるには、精神のスピリチュアルな、私たち自身の精神を変えるような取り組みが必要です。そんな中で、サトシのルーツオブビーイングを見つけ、それに対して私は希望を見出しています。そうしないと私たちは自己破滅の道に進んでしまい、自分の愛する兄弟や身内、そして次の世代をどんどん破壊していくという道になってしまいます。なので私たちは根本的な何か革新的な革命が必要で、それは暴力とかに頼るのではなく、私たち精神を見つめ直すことで得られる革命を必要としているのではないかと考えています。
Shall we have 5 minutes break and we go to Q&A?
Yes, sounds
Okay.
good.
All right, just a 5 minutes break then. All right.
All right.
You okay, Marcello? Shall we start again?
Sure.
Anyone have question? I have few. 質問ありますか？
I have a question.
Oh, great. みおさん。はい。
Thank you for the speech. It was really interesting, and I'm shocked that Ethiopia had no rain for 6 years, actually. And my question is, like, how African people actually think about,
Can you speak up a bit?
sorry, how African people actually think about the West, like emotionally. Are they mad at West about like how they treat Africa, or like does African people like states that they have the right to use energy as much as like the West countries did in the past?
アフリカの人たちは、西洋諸国に対して怒ったり、どういう感情を抱いていますか？
Okay, I can answer very quickly, and I would say it depends. For example, Kenya has a lot of respect, I would say, for England, and Kenyan people they think that they have a lot to learn from England, but they also feel that they were exploited. You have other countries like, for example, the Democratic Republic of Congo, that they intensely hate Europeans. And in between, you have different feelings. And Angolan people, for example, they probably don't respect a lot Portugal, but they are becoming very rich for the oil. I mean, a lot of internal inequality, but so they don't feel particularly bad again, and they don't have bad feelings indiscriminately, and so on. You have, for example, the countries of or Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, that they hate very intensely France, and so on. So it depends, but in general, the sentiment is that they've been deprived of resources, that their own resources have been stolen by the West, and this is their time to use and to develop. They have also a very strong feeling about climate. So I would say that they are more sensitive than in Europe about climate. Probably they feel the intensity of climate degradation, but they are just, I would say, more educated, and they fully realize the risk. So all in all, it's the different feelings, but in general, not positive towards towards Europe in particular, and sensitivity to climate, and the right to use resources finally for themselves.
それぞれの国にとってそれぞれの感情はもちろんありますが、全体的に言うとあまりよく思ってはいないっていうか、結構な像を西洋諸国に自分たちは使われた、自分たちアフリカの貴重な資源がどんどん外に流出していってるっていうネガティブな感情を抱いています。例えば、ケニアとかではイギリスに対しては尊敬を抱いていますが、やはりアフリカ、そのコミュニティをうまく利用されたっていうところに関しては、憎悪感は残っていますし、ほとんどの、アフリカの民主主義国家は、フランスをはじめポルトガルだったり、いろんなところに対して憎悪を抱いています。で、一番重要なことは、アフリカの国々が、やはり西洋諸国に植民地化されて、リソースを奪われて、悪用されて、彼らの西洋諸国の発展のために使われて、アフリカに何も還元されていないというところに対して気づき始めていて、アフリカの人たちはあまりよく思っていないというのが現状です。
I have a question. So from that question, Moe-san did. In well, there's so many theory about why that there's terrorism in US by some Middle East people. But I don't know why the African people, there's not such a terrorism like invading America or like showing the anger to in the Western country, because there's so many African origin people everywhere in the white West countries. I just wonder why it's not happening. And I just thought like maybe there's a massive war, whole continent of Africa starts starting the war to other countries. I just wonder why it's happening. まあ、アラブ諸国とかは、まあ、アメリカでテロリストとかがいろいろ、まあ、イギリスでもありますけど、まあ、中東のアンガーが、怒りが、西洋諸国に向けたことはあるけれど、アフリカでは一切そういうことがないのが、なんでだろうという質問です。
I would say that, we are talking about global phenomena, and so it's difficult to pinpoint here and there. And I'm thinking, for example, the case of Somalia with Al-Shabaab, or the case of Nigeria with Boko Haram. Boko Haram means that the West is impure, that the West is wrong. Al-Shabaab means the youth, the young people. And you don't see attacks for a couple of reasons. First, because Europeans and America, they don't like black people, and so they check constantly black people coming in Europe or in the US. There are always suspicions, so it will be very difficult for people from these countries to come and start clandestine activities. They are checked constantly. Every time at the airport, they always check black people. The second is that they probably mostly they hate the colonial powers, and America didn't colonize Africa. France and UK in particular, they did, and Portugal. But right now, they are more focused on their development than in sabotaging Europe. And the third is that I mentioned Al-Shabaab, young people, and Boko Haram, the West is wrong, because this is probably the future. The African continent is very young, and it will become even younger.
一つ目の理由、いくらか理由があるんですけれども、一つ目の理由は、アメリカやイギリスは黒人に対して信用を置いていないからっていうところがあります。なので彼らは空港やそれ以外のところでも常にシビアな、とても厳格な質問とかを受けたりすることがとても多いです。なので、そんな簡単には反乱を起こせないというか、そういった体制に敷かれているっていう現状があるからです。
What did you say for the last few sentences?
No, I mean, I was going back to Al-Shabaab and Boko Haram.
Okay, Al-Shabaab is?
Young people.
Young people.
若い
人たちで、ボコランが、西洋が間違っているという指標なんですけれども、この2つは後ほどまた。
Okay, carry on, Marcello.
So I think that in the future we will see more and more situation where young people that are deprived of a future because we are telling them that we cannot consume, and we are saying Europe, Japan, and America, we decided that we are consuming too much, and so everybody needs to stop. And you have 1 billion people in their 20s that they will say, well, it's my time now to consume or to enjoy a good lifestyle. And probably the solutions that are coming from the West are wrong.
2つ目がアフリカの、搾取がもっともっと広く進んでいくことです。で、アイシャバブが、若い、ヤングピーポー、若い人たちっていう言葉を意味して、ボコランが西洋が間違っているっていう意味なんですけれども、アフリカの、若い人たち、アイシャバブは未来が見えない状態に、あります。 その理由が先ほども話した日本、EU、そして、アメリカがエネルギーをとてもたくさん使っている現状にありまして、結局それはみんながストップしなきゃいけないことであり、そうしないと私たちは解決策、この自己破滅に向かう解決策っていうのを提示できなくなるからです。で、西洋諸国が一方的に提示する解決策っていうのは正しくないので、そうならない、間違った解決策を、西洋の間違った解決策をみんなで実践する前に、私たちは立ち止まって自己破滅を防ぐ道を探さなければいけません。
So Satoshi wasn't a direct answer, but I hope I touched the important points that you raised.
Yeah. Another thing is, I have an awareness of, even though you didn't tell me all these details, I have an awareness as a whole planet, that I know that somewhere, someone is in a deep poverty and they don't even have food and gas, electricity, anything, and then suffering. And when I think about it, and unnecessarily, if I'm using the heat, or unnecessarily, if I'm using electricity, I feel like not guilt, but I feel really just naturally think that I got to save the energy. Not that if we save energy, then I could save them, but I don't really understand sometimes, often Japanese people, even the Western people, they are in such a luxurious environment. For example, like in a winter, they are wearing t-shirts, and then when I open the door of my friend's room, like it's just huge, so hot in the winter, and you're not gonna die it's not gonna be minus if you're in the house. We're not outside. Also, there's so many things that we could make things warm in the winter. Like if I ask those things, they say like, why do I have to wear so many clothes to walk around in the house? That's their answer. They don't really get. They think even I'm crazy or like stingy or stupid to just put one layer of clothes to be a little bit warm in order to not sit on the heater. Or I don't know, maybe I would just do exercise a little bit to make us warm. In the summer as well, like why do you put the air conditioning all the time? And there's many ways to survive. We could go to some places or library instead of using air conditioning in a house. So there's so many ways, but I don't know. I feel like I'm the one who is stupid, but I don't know people don't link about other side of the world, or even there's no poverty, but I don't feel the necessity. And then why do I have to indulge myself in order for just to be comfortable? なんで僕は普通に考えて、例えば、1枚レイヤー服着るだけで暖かくなるのに、ヒーターをつけたり、人によっては、T シャツだけ着て、で、めちゃくちゃ冬で暑くして、で、ちょっとレイヤー着れば、暖かくなるのに、無駄にエネルギーを使ったり、なんかそういうのが、そういう話になると、なんでそんな快適じゃない生活なんかしたくないっていう跳ね返りが返ってきることが多くて、で、それがなんか僕の方が間違ってるというような印象を、特に先進国の人たち、日本に限らず、そういう印象が感じられますね。で、だから、なんでそこでリンクを、世界の反対側の人たちがどういう生活をしてるかとか、そういうリンクをなんで貼れないのかなと思って。Just, I know it's difficult to have this solution, the answer, but we could discuss a little bit like why do we don't have a link of other side of the world that someone is actually dying, even the food, like there's so many British people waste food, like maybe the worst in a European country. And I saw like some vegan people, after they finish, they have tiny bit of food you could put in a fridge and eat later, but they just put it and then like, well, why are you throwing? And then I ask, oh, but just this is a bit. Yeah, but it's a bit, but it's a food. Why are you throwing? You're vegan. I just don't really get it. I mean, vegan doesn't have to be like saving the planet, hero, but I just really don't get about some vegan even people wanted to think about the environment, right? なんかビーガンの人とか、特にイギリス人は一番こう消費、無駄な消費が多い食べ物に関して、まあ、すぐ捨てちゃうんですよね。ちょっと残ってたら。だから残ってたらなんか冷蔵庫入れればいいじゃんと思うんだけど、で、なんかそういう人がビーガンだったりして、ビーガンの人はまあ環境問題考えたりする人多いから、なんでそれでそこにリンクはないのかなと思って。Yeah, what do you think about it? Like, why can't we create this awareness?
We desperately need it, but you know, we live together on this planet. We are 8 billion, and 1 billion is food insecure, meaning that they need to skip one meal and sometimes more. There is 1 billion of people that are enjoying a comfortable life. There are 3-4 billion that are poor, extremely poor. And then there is, you know, 2-3 billion that have much less than Europe or Japan, but they are living, you know, decently.
Let's stop there. Many numbers.
Yeah.
世界はまあ80億人いますが、そのうちの8分の1が日本を含む先進国で、エネルギーをたくさん消費して、ディーセントライフ、それこそ寒いのに半袖を着たり、食べ残しをたくさん勝手に捨てたりする人がいます。で、次の8分の3割の人たち、8分の3の人たちは普通の生活を送っていて、で、一番ボトムの8分の1が、明日生きることができるかどうかの、食糧難に瀕している人たちが、いるという現実がまずあります。
And so I'm going back to, you know, to the paradox of to save the planet, we need to consume less, but some people for equality, for fairness, need to consume more. And we need to find a solution to this paradox. My solution is a radical change of our economic model. The capitalism that is based on overconsumption, it's not sustainable. It's possibly the wrongest method right now. We need to invent a new one because communism or socialism, we need to rethink about that. But we need to save the planet, and we need to save it together, and we need to be together in this process. All the 8 billion, and this is the challenge we have.
結局、そういう人たち、クオリティを重視する、生活の質を重視する人たちが、いるのも事実で、その人たちが、オーバーコンサンプションをするのは、とても間違っていると思うので、ラディカル根本的なチェンジが必要なわけです。それが、私が提案するのは、経済のモデルを変えることです。大量生産、大量消費が生み出した世の中、そして大量生産、大量消費を良しとする世の中は私たちが作り出した経済システムで一番間違っているメソッドであるので、このメソッドを、もう一度見直して、次に使える資本主義の枠組みを考え直す必要があります。で、私たち一丸となって地球を救い、自己破滅に進む道を閉ざさなくてはいけないと考えています。
We didn't really talk about money, but we talk about energy. But surely, if we use money, it would use energy too. For example, well, anything like even the money, banking, or I don't know, trading or anything that we are kind of using some unnecessary energy somehow. Also, the capitalism will encourage rich people to consume more unnecessary energy, don't you think? 資本主義のせいで、まあ、お金持ちがいっぱい使ってしまうということもあるし、あとまあ、お金の話はしなかったけれど、エネルギーを使うというよりかは、お金を使うことによってエネルギーも消費されるんじゃないでしょうか。例えばまあトレーディングしたりとか、まあ、バンキングとか、銀行のシステムだったり。What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, clearly, you know, this is the difficult question. Who wants to be poorer? And nobody wants to be poorer. I'm perfectly aware that nobody is happy to have less money, all other conditions equal. But the problem that we have is that can we have quality of life without consumption? If the answer is no, then all our problems will become bigger. So we need to find quality of life with less consumption. This is my simple answer.
誰もお金を、今持ってるお金よりも少ないお金をもらいたいと思いませんし、誰も今の生活の質を下げたいと思う人はなかなかいないです。ただ、そういう人たちにどう経済モデルを変えて生活の質をこう徐々にコンシュームリトルレスですね。消費を少なく少なく徐々にしていくかを提案できるようになるのかが私たちの課題だと思っています。
So the idea of money is a problem, right? The capitalism idea of money, idea of happiness, idea of content. Because if you're full content, we feel fine. その全てが、ハピネスとか、幸せのアイデアだったり、お金のアイデアだったりっていうものが問題かなと思ってて、自分が満たされていれば問題ないわけじゃないですか。何かを持ってなきゃいけないなんてないわけだから。So, are we mind controlled by capitalism? I do think so. 資本主義にマインドコントロールされてるのかなと思いますよね。Well, we all, all the population of us, if we are fully content without consuming anything, that's a solution, isn't it? And then we don't need to kind of steal in each other the money, and we don't even need the money. But this system itself, I really feel that it's really, yeah, as you said, destroying the planet. システム自体がもうおかしくて、こういうアイデアによって、環境破壊になったり、お金というもので、惑わされてるんじゃないかなと。What do you think about it?
Well, I mean that there have been many models in the history of humanity, and people very often they like to be rich, but money wasn't always and everywhere the most important thing. And when it's not the most important thing, you have more solidarity, have less consumption, and so on. I think that you're right when you're saying that we are that our mind is controlled by capitalism, by money. How do we stop that? I think that this is the time to look inside and to think that it's not money giving us happiness, but it's the relation with others. It's only that when others are telling us that the only important thing is money, then we fall back on putting money first. But in reality, what we want is the relation with others. It's just that if the relation with others is driven by money, then we go back to putting money first.
結局、私もサトシさんに同感で、お金が一番重要なことではありません。ただ、私たちのマインド、考え方が資本主義によってコントロールされてしまっているという現状が、あるということはとても同感です。結局はお金がハピネス、幸せをもたらすのではなく、人とのリレーション、関係性だったりが私たちのハピネス満たされているということを実感させてくれることが、リアルでありますと。ただ、その他の人との関係性がやっぱりお金に縛られてくると、また話の振り出しに戻ってしまって、お金が大切っていう風なサイクルに陥ってしまうのではないかなと思っています。
And I must say that we have one great resource, and is our minds, our imagination, art, religion, culture. They don't need consumption. You don't need to consume energy by telling stories or by admiring art. So this is probably our biggest resource, to enjoy ourselves, enjoy the company of others, enjoying the wisdom and the art of others. And this doesn't require energetic consumption. So we could actually be content in spending time dedicating our dedicating our souls to religion, art, culture. This is one resource that we have as human beings, but we need to start to appreciate that more than the material consumption.
結局、宗教も、文化も、私たちが生きる生活をするっていう上で、コンサンプション、消費がどれだけ大事かっていうのは、あまり実は大切ではありません。アートをこう見るのにも、コンサンプション、消費は発生しませんし、アートを見るために友人とアートを見に行く、その友人との関係性を深めることに意味があるので、鑑賞とか生きていく、カルチャーを、受け取る、宗教を、リリジョンを信じる、そういうことにコンサンプションは本来必要なかったはずです。なので、私たちは満たされた生活っていうのを消費なしで育むことができるっていうことは、もう歴史的にも証明されていることです。
I just wanted to recommend the book. I don't know, you know this. Actually, I haven't read the book, but I watched the video. If you search on YouTube, Sacred Economics by Charles Eisenstein, and he talks a lot about the misconcept about money. And it's very, very good view that he has. One video, 2 minutes video, I think it's really amazing how he explained about the wrong idea about the money. So this is a really recommended book. 日本語でなんていうかちょっとわかんないですけど、Sacred Economics ってすごいいい本なので、これがチャールズ・アイゼンスタインって人が書いた本で、お金のことについて、僕らが考えているすごい、間違った考え方っていうことを書いてる人なので、YouTube に多分字幕、日本語字幕ありで、ビデオが2分ぐらいのものがあると思うんで、ちょっと、見てみるといいと思います。Do you know about this book, Marcello?
No, I didn't know.
It's amazing. Like he really like want to even invite the roots of being really yeah, like we talk about it. Like what is money? Like, why do we have to always reach to the money? We don't have money. Like what is money? So he really don't believe in money, and in a very logical way, he's explained about money. There's so many people talk about money. Even Michael Ende, the one who wrote the Never Ending Story, Momo, and he was talking about like we should divide the money for the country money, private money, or bank money. Why do everything is connected? We might have some sort of function to exchange things, but that's nothing to do with the country's money. And yeah, so there's so many people doing it, and then there's some community which I wanted to create, like some community that without money that they're not surviving, but living and or sharing and in the world. Yeah. この人以外にも他にもたくさんいて、例えば、モモとか、果てしない物語を書いたミハレンデとかも、お金っていうものは、国のお金、銀行のお金、個人のお金っていうもので分けるべきだけど、それをぐちゃぐちゃにしておかしなことになっているとか、コミュニティを作ってる人たちも、大勢いて、世の中に、違う通貨で、物々交換したりとか、僕もルーツオブビングで、将来、そういうコミュニティが作れたらなと、近い将来思っているわけですけど、この本はおすすめです。Okay, yeah, any other question? We are kind of almost 2 hours. 他に何かあります？ミキさんある？
Hello. I was going to ask a very similar question to Satoshi, so I will skip the question. But my wonder was, like as you said, the people who's not very cautious about or not so self-aware of even just recycling, it's a small matter, like try not to use energy. How can we persuade these people? Yeah, I'm giving the simple example. For instance, I live with one girl who is my friend, and she has totally no aware of any recycling or less energy, like simple things. She will dry her clothes using washing machine. At the same time, the radiator is on, so we can just put it on the radiator, but she doesn't see it, and it almost for me it makes me feel they just don't care, and then they're just lazy and selfish. And I haven't quite figured out how I can reach these people to make them realize that that is affecting to a future child, or the people who will be in this earth like in 30 years, 40 years time, or even earlier than that time. And
Sure.
I find it very difficult to even speak about it, because they seems to be, they seems not to care about it at all.
一人のフラットメイト、女性の方と住んでいるのですが、その方が例えば洗濯をして、ラディエーター、ヒーターの上に置いて乾かすことができても、必ずクリーニングとか、あとは、ドライヤー、乾燥機を使って、結局電気のその消費につながっていて、で、自分がその人たちにどうしてラディエーターの上に置いてエネルギーのことを考えないんだと。で彼女のこの生い立ちがとてもセルフィッシュなものであるんではないかと思ってしまうっていう。で、そういう人たちにもともとどうアプローチをする方法が全然わからなくってっていうような質問です。
I just wanted to add that or kind of discuss. I really, frustrated about that sometimes.
Me too.
I mean, we could talk about ourselves, but
Yeah.
you will come back in a even 10, 20 years time that or plastic, or there's so many chemicals, we dump it everywhere. Well, 1,000 years time, or even maybe 100 or 200 years time, it will affect to us directly, and your all lovely grandchildren will be affected. Maybe we are all deformed, we will be mutant, all of us. Did you want to see that? But they don't really, that's how it, whatever, like, they don't really.
I don't think they see it. I don't know.
Yeah, right. I mean, people who maybe if you're living in a really deadly poisonous factory next to you, they will realize probably. But it will reach us, anything that we are consuming or whatever. I mean, not just consuming energy, there's so many things that we need to be aware that we are literally destroying us. Literally. I mean, now it's a 25 years time that we're going to be dead. But they don't care. It's just they don't really think about tomorrow. They don't care about big. So why are you having children? I mean, some European people or even Japanese people start not having children because they don't want to live in such a disastrous world. But I really wanted to make people to be aware. I'm not really blaming them, but they just don't have switch. They'll be even upset about talking about, but they don't really see the truth. ミキさんの話にちょっと付け加えると、本当に、エネルギーだけに限らず、いろんなものがプラスチックでもそうだし、毒みたいなものがいっぱいあって、特に毒を垂れ流す工場が横にない限り気づかないっていうこと。あと20年、30年で僕らの体に帰ってくると思うし、1000年後ないしも200年後に、間違いなく汚染をしているあなたたちの可愛い孫たちに明らかに影響を与えてくるっていうことを、なんでここ認識しないのか僕には本当よくわからなくて、そうですね。なんか明日のことしか考えてないっていうところがすごい問題があるかな。Yeah, what do you think, Marcio? What could be
Or
how
it's
can we
small
persuade?
subject, right? Compared with like what we've been talking through.
Shall we
but
just torture
every
them?
So
I mean, Miki and Satoshi, I totally share your frustration. And I think that, these people are literally not seeing the situation. And so my answer would be to take them to the Pacific Ocean, where there is the plastic, the islands of plastic. I will be very happy to invite them in Ethiopia to show both the resilience, the condition, and the effect of overconsumption, because they are taken away from others. But in the UK, you could see and I'm sure in Japan as well, you could see islands of pollution. And the point is that we drastically change about pollution, but we are still, it's still in our mind. I'll give you the example of Tesla and the electric car. I'm in favor of an electric car, but I think that the problem is thinking that in 25 years, we are still, all of us will need an individual car. Why not investing in public transport, for example? And why we are thinking that oil is bad. Oil is bad not just for your gasoline, but for your plastic. So you should stop using it just because it's a pollutant. But if the commission for climate change is led by Saudi Arabia and the United Emirates, well, clearly they will never ban oil. Think about cigarettes. When I grew up in Italy, cigarettes were everywhere. We decided that they are poisonous, and we started to ban it in public places. So it's possible to ban things. So let's ban oil. It won't be easy, by the way, but do we have alternatives? I don't think that, we think that we don't have alternatives, but we are killing ourselves. And your friends that are unaware, they are killing us. So we need to convince them quickly because they are killing us.
結局そういう人たちは現状を知らないんだと思います。なので、現状を見せるためにエチオピアとかに私はすごいそういう無頓着な人、環境に無頓着で、責任感がない人たちを、エチオピアにご招待して現実の惨状がどれほどひどいのかっていうのをお見せしたいなとずっと思っていて、なので、ミキさんとサトシさんのこのフラストレーション、イライラ、そういう人たちに対するイライラを完全に理解することができます。結局、イタリアのタバコの例もそうですが、マルチェロさんがイタリアで育った時は、タバコはもうそこら中にあって、で、タバコが健康に害するっていう風になってから、タバコをやめようってなりましたが、まだその代替品っていうのが出てきてなくって、みんなタバコにやめようと言ってるのにもかかわらず、その動きが完全にコンプリートされてない状況でもあります。
やめろっていうような法律もできてきたから、何かしらやめる法律、例えばオイルっていうものは非常に、油田はすごい、環境に悪いけれど、とある、北アフリカ諸国とかアラブ諸国とかまだ売っているので、それをもう完全にやめてしまえばいいんじゃないかと、言ってますね。で、電気の、車、テスラとかいいけど、公共の、機関をもっと発達させた方が、個人で車を持つという考えよりもいいのではないかと。Yeah, great. Anything else? Will be endless, but it's also that I think in capitalist people and advanced people try not to see things the reality, right? That's a problem. They don't want to see it. If we bring them to maybe piles of polluted plastic that in developed countries, the children are trying to even just to allocate the rubbish, and then they become sick or die. I mean, if you see that whole life of what they do, I don't think they're gonna do the same life if you see in front of them, because they don't have that reality. They're too busy for own business, chasing money, or I don't know, raising children, or having house and cars, and they don't have time. I mean, that's a kind of trick as well. We really don't have time in an advanced country because we're so much high up in the air, like we are living in heaven, like chasing something that it doesn't exist. That's not even a reality. It's kind of interesting, like how we separate these, like up in there, and then there's a science fiction manga, the comic, It's called Gammu. I think that was James Cameron made the film. The film is not great, but there's the high people are living in the sky, and then rest of the slaves and not developed people are under the sky. But it's kind of interesting, like how they depict it. It's like that, and we are the advanced country people are such ignorant, and we are just chasing the thing that it doesn't even exist. 先進国の人たちは、まあ、何が何だか分かんないぐらいにこう毎日忙しくて、まあ、お金をこう追いかけてる状態で、家だとか、なんかアイデアの、幸せのアイデアみたいなものを追っかけていて、実際何が起きているかっていうことを見ない。まあ、デベロッピングカントリー、発展途上国でこう、プラスチックだとか汚染されたものが山積みになっているところで、まあ、僕はただこう想像でしかないけど、小さい子供が、まあ、その汚染されたものを分けたりとか、まあ、それで死んでしまう人もいるだろうし、まあ、そんなものを見たら次の日、まあ、帰ってきて、違う生活をすると思うんだけれど、そこまでこう、見ない限り感じないっていう、こう、無頓着さというか、無関心さっていうものが、あることに非常に問題があるなと。まあ、コミックで、漫画でガムという漫画があるんですけど、その中でこう表しているのが、まあ、天の、ハイソサエティの人はこう、空に住んでて、その人たちはみんなもう奴隷みたいな生活をしてるみたいな、漫画なんだけど、まあ、それは今の状態を表しているなと思いました。Shall we conclude? Finish that? Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
We could stay. Marcello, if you have to go, you could go. And Shuhei-sai, you could go as well. And we could do a free talk with us. And yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So stay online. If you want to talk anything, we're going to stop recording as well. So Moe-san, if you want to stay, and Miki-san and Kimiko-san. Yeah, thank you, Shuhei-san and Marcello.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao,
Ciao.
ciao. Thank you.
Ciao.
Sorry, I also have to go.
Okay, that's fine.
Maybe we can conclude with messages later.
Oh yeah, Moe-san, if you want anything feedback, could you send it to me? It'd be actually nice that I'm always asking that if you have some sort of whatever you felt like, and just I'd like to try to correct that, and if you could bring that. Yeah, or even just a little message, it would be great to this email. This. はい。